Usually when we see such price action, we usually see this high being swept. And if you don't believe me, let's just go to my journal actually, and I'll give you all of the trades that looked very similar to this one. I just journaled 120 trades and finished with a 40% win rate. However, after analyzing the data using what I learned working in private equity and my master's in AI, I found an 80% win rate setup within this sample. So let's test it on 6 months of price action to see how it performs long term. I'm a money engineer and I work one-on-one with other traders until they get funded and get their first payout, just like all of my previous students. Check the link in the description for more details. So now grab a drink and go over some price action. Let's continue where we left off. So we left off with a 50% win rate with 8 trades for January. And the month was quite good, to be honest, 4% in profit, taking 1 to 2 trades per week. So very, very fair. Let's go with February. So in each of my videos, I'm giving more and more details about this strategy. So if you're interested, make sure to watch also the previous videos. I'm going into my journal and I'm explaining how almost every trading session I'm able to predict the direction for the day. Because I know a lot of people have problems with biases, and what I think is the best solution to solve this issue is using a trading journal, because you will be able to learn how a trading day is formed using previous days that are looking exactly like the one that you're trading or very, very close to the one that you're trading. You'll be able to predict the direction because price action is repeatable. The trends are repeatable and price action is doing the same thing over and over again. So by knowing how to journal them, you'll be able to predict the direction for a day. So let's just do it for this day. So yesterday's price action was overall bearish, a lot of ranging, but overall bearish. London session bullish. And currently let's get close to the 930 to see what would be my bias for the day. So I'm going to give you my bias right before the 930 open. So overall we'll be looking for a bullish setup. So this is not actually the low, this is the new low. And then let's just go on the 5 minute. So what I would like to see is a sweep of yesterday's low, preferably, and then a reversal higher. I don't like to trade from the London session level too much. And then another level that I'm also interested in is this level right there. So you saw that we went and reached this level. We had a lot of momentum to take out this level. Let's see if we form a fair value gap. Not yet. We swept once again this level. Let's see if we have some kind of reaction. No, yeah, we're kind of ranging now, so I won't be interested in this level anymore. But let's just see if the bullish setup follows. Yeah, so we went back down once again. But this is not something I'm planning on trading unless we go back to yesterday's session. Yeah, so we're getting close there. So you see, not the best trading session to trade from. We had a triple sweep of those lows, one here, and one here, and then we finally went up, leaving those 2 fair value gaps. But this is not the type of setup that I'm taking. But if this is your style, then that's perfect. And like we saw many times in my previous videos, we swept the high of the pre-market open. We had a clear breakout structure in here. We had the fair value gap, filled up the fair value gap, and went lower. So this could be your setup every day, and you need to work on that. Let's see if we continue lower. Yeah, nothing. So my bias was overall good. I had some bullish potential setup that I could take, but they did not fit my trading setup. But not the best trading session, to be honest, to trade. Even someone with a bearish setup could have taken this one and it could have been successful. So you see that it's not always about the bias. You need a whole trading plan, not just a bias for the day. Let's just clean the chart now. And if you're new and this is your first video, I really suggest that you watch the 2 previous videos to have all of the details about this strategy. So we have the high here. So overall, yesterday's price action was bullish, just like I explained during my bias yesterday. I was looking for a bullish price action. And how did I know? Because I saw this type of price action many, many times. And I know how it usually develops. This is just a probability. This is not a 100% prediction I'm giving. It's just the probabilities. And in here, we have also a bullish London session And then we're currently quite bearish. We're seeing this huge fair value gap, which was probably due to a news. This is the first Friday of February, so this is probably NFP. For this trading day, I'll be looking mostly for a bullish setup. So I'm looking for a buy. Let's get close to 930. All right. So what I would like to see is maybe a sweep of those lows. You see those 3 lows, a sweep of those lows, and then a continuation higher. Other than that, maybe I could take a trade from yesterday's low. This could also be interesting, but I don't like to trade from this level. I would prefer to see a reaction from those lows before taking a trade. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so nice reaction there. We swept the low. Let's see if we leave a fair value gap. Nice. So this is all I'm looking for to take my trade. And then let's just go for a 1 to 2. So we had this inverse fair value gap. With this fair value gap, so when you combine the two, I think it's a BPR. And then we had those 2 equal lows with this one that was swept very clearly. And then we're starting to see a reaction there. So let's just go and market execute. Of course, you could use the open of the fair value gap, but this is not always given. See? No comeback to the fair value gap. And for a long time, I used to always wait for a break of structure, just like we got right there, and then a comeback to the fair value gap. But I learned very painfully that this is not always given. And this is when I decided to just enter right away when we see the formation of the fair value gap. This is true. This is not the best entry. Sometimes I will see price action come back to the fair value gap and eventually went higher. But in those situations, especially very close to the 930, I learned that sometimes this is not given. Price will simply continue. I had actually a 0% drawdown with this trade. Right after this candle closed, I entered right away because I had this fair value gap that was formed. And I'm sure a lot of people would have expected a comeback lower. First, because we had this PPR, and also because we had 2 fair value gap at the same time, right? We had this one and then this one lower. But personally, I just entered right away and I got myself a nice 1 to 2. We're currently at 6%. So that was the first trade of February. So nice trade there. Let's just see if we get to the top of the pre-market open, which is a very obvious level. And of course, we went to it. So as always, you also need to study how far we go into profit to try to optimize your take profit management. And I have a whole section on that in my course called the trade management. And I'm teaching people how to find the best way to go break even and take profit also. Because you can take some partials, you can go the full take profit, and there are many other ways to take profit. And you can see that price eventually went to a 1 to 5. So am I frustrated that price went that much higher? And the answer is no, actually. Because I studied in my journal that just going with a 1 to 2 is giving me one of the highest, not only win rate, but also return. Because going with a 1 to 5 is not always given. And if you're always aiming for a 1 to 5 or you're taking only half of your profit at 1 to 2, if you take half of your profit at a 1 to 2, this is only 1 R. And then if you take the other half to a 1 to 5, this gives you a total of 3.5. But the chances that your trade goes to a 1 to 5 is very, very rare. It depends, of course, on your strategy and your way of trading. All I'm saying today is based on my own strategy and my own way of trading. So you need to study that for yourself also. But I worked with a lot of swing traders in my community, and a lot of them are actually going with higher take profits. They're not only taking a 1 to 2, and this makes sense because they're swing traders. So you need to adjust your way of taking profit with your own strategy, of course. And this is what I have to work one-on-one with people because everybody's strategy are different. Everybody's way of seeing the charts also different. I'm also tackling emotional problems and psychological problems when trading. So this is why I have to go with a one-on-one for my mentorship. This is better because I'm actually building connections with people. I'm meeting with people who have some webinars, live meetings with people, see people face-to-face, talk with them. Some of my meetings lasted like 2 hours sometimes with one student, going over their life story, how they came into trading, what are their goals for the new year. And I just like this part of the mentorship. Anyway, so yesterday's price action, bullish. Asian range, overall bearish. London session, bearish also. And then also the pre-market, bearish. Let's just get closer to the 930. For today, my plan would be to take a short, so I have a bearish bias for today. So where can I take a short from? I would prefer to see a sweep of this high to then take a short. However, I don't want to see this level being swept. So if I'm seeing those two levels swept at the same time, I won't be taking the trade because I don't like to take trades from the New York PM. I would prefer to see just the high of the pre-market open swept and then a reaction lower. Why? Because we have this low that we could go and take. We have the low of the London session that was not swept. We have the low of the Asian session that was not swept. A lot of liquidity residing there. So this is why I would like to take a short. Let's see. So I'm giving you the plan right before the 9:30 open, and this is what you should be doing every day before getting to the chart. Almost to the level. So we did not get the sweep of the high, and this is kind of frustrating because I'm sure this will go down now because I'm seeing we had a break of all of those lows. This one, and this one, and we left this nice fair value gap there. And I'm thinking if this is due to the broker, because from one broker to another, it can be different. And on FxReplay, I don't know what broker they're using, but maybe on the E-mini, this could be swept there. But just to be very objective, I won't be taking this trade. But this is how it would look like. Because I've been backtesting and journaling for a long time now, and I'm seeing some kind of discrepancies between FxReplay sometimes and TradingView. So this is how the trade would look like if I was going to take it. But let's not take it just in case. Because a lot of time I saw this happening. Usually we always see this high or this low being swept. All right, so this would look like that. Let's see. So we had a nice reaction there. And then of course it went to take profit. Yeah, I think like you can tell me if you go back and then look in E-mini, but I feel like usually when we see such price action, we usually see a high, this high being swept. And if you don't believe me, let's just go to my journal actually, and I'll give you all of the trades that looked very similar to this one. Yeah, so this is unfortunate. This should have been a +2R in my backtest. So let's just go into the journal. So I just looked into my journal and I found 3 trades which were very similar to the one I was supposed to take today. So you can see that in this case, like I said, the low of the Asian session and the low of the London session were not swept yet before taking the trade, right? And this is very important because it was a very obvious level. We also had those two lows forming a double bottom. And usually when they're so perfect like this one, we usually see them being swept right away. So let's just see in my journal one of them. I won't go into all of them because I'm usually leaving all of those details to my community. I hope you all understand. And out of the 3 trades, one of them was a loss and 2 of them were wins. So in here, this is a 67% win rate. And this is the reason why I was so confident in this trade working out. And if I was going to add this trade into my journal, because the month of February is not part of my current journal, I will be adding it offline when I'm done in the coming days or in the coming weeks as I'm adding more and more trades in my journal. But if I'm adding this setup to my trading journal, this would bring out the win rate of this setup to a 75% win rate. And you see that this is how it works. As you're going through forex testing and as you're going through live testing, you're adding more and more trades. So that way, your strategy is always up to date. And this is the power of journaling. But let's just go over the trade. Let's just look at one of them. So in here we had a long, but the setup is very, very similar. You just have to flip the chart, right? And this would give you the same thing. So as I said, the high of the London session in this case, because it was a long, was not swept. And the high of the Asian range also was not swept. You see that we had this yesterday's low that was not swept near our stop loss. And what do we have here? Near a stop loss, the high of the yesterday's price action, which was not swept also. So this is giving us confidence that this high will hold and price won't be going towards that. And then what happened? In this case, we did not sweep this high, but I feel like this is due to the broker because usually we always see, especially that close, we always see those levels being swept. And just like that, in here also, let's just go on the 1 minute. This is 15, 5, 3. You see how much work it takes also to gather all of this data. We had the low. You can take either this one or this one. We swept it, had a nice reaction. We had the fair value gap. We had the inverse fair value gap, a BPR. Like I said, if you combine those two fair value gap, did we have a BPR in this case? Well, if you combine until that point, I know some people use fair value gaps that way. We have the BPR in here. And this is the reason why we stopped exactly at that point. You see this candle, how we stopped there? Yeah, this is because of the BPR. And then we continue higher. And like I said, we swept both the high of the pre-market open, the high of the London session, the high of the Asian session, and we came close to yesterday's high. Let's just see the rest of the day if we can go even deeper. And this is how I'm able to predict what I'm going to do before my trading session. And I feel like this is something that every trader could benefit from. So price eventually went for a 1 to 6. So very impressive here. And even in the trade that I took, price went very, very far. I actually took note of it. In here, I put that in my personal notes. It went to 11.8 and we closed at the end of the day at 10-hour profit. But this one looks like it's going to get to stop loss right at the close at 4 p.m. Yeah, we went to stop loss. So in this case, how I would note what happened with price action, I would say that we first went into a 1.5 at that point in here. We went back to 0.5. We went then to a 6.6 and we finally went to stop loss at that point. And this is how I would journal this trade. But yeah, this is kind of frustrating. In live trading conditions, I would have taken this trade because I'm sure this high was taken. And you can actually go back and tell me in the comments on February 5th of 2024 on the E-mini, was this high swept? And just tell me. I don't want to go back because I will be looking at price action. And I don't want people to say that, oh, I looked at the price action, so I know in advance what would happen. Even though I'm very clear on when I'm taking a trade, what level I'm using. So even if I would see the price action, I cannot just decide to take a trade randomly somewhere. You see that I'm taking trade from the highs and lows of the different trading sessions. And I'm using my journal to determine my bias for the day. All right, so yesterday's is not very clear, so let's just go on the daily to see. So yesterday's price action was bullish. The candle is green. Let's just look at the London session. London session, bearish, bullish Asian session. And then, so mostly for this trading session, I would be looking for a short. Let's see if we can get the high of the London session. But most of the time, I don't like taking trades from there. It really depends on the price action, but we'll see. And we could also maybe see a sweep of those levels before coming back down and sweeping the low of the New York PM. Let's see. Well, another level that we could also see is the high of the pre-market open being swept and then a move back down. This one that we just swept. Okay, so this is complicated because personally, I don't like taking trades from the London session too much, but we just stopped right before. So I think I'll be taking this trade here. Let's just go. This is one of my very few gray areas. I don't have too much, to be honest. My way of trading is very, very mechanical. You can ask every member. They know exactly when I'm taking a trade. They could reproduce all of those results themselves. But this is one of the few cases where, because we stopped right away, do I really need to consider this as being a swept level? So I'm just going to take the trade from here. And let's just go with a limit order. And we did not get the comeback. You see? That's the greediness. I was going to go with the open of the fair value gap. I could have went just like my previous trade, right when we had the fair value gap. And this would have been my 1 to 2. But I decided just for, this is how much? Just for 5 points, I just missed out on 2%. So we're learning every day. But this was a nice setup. Exactly to plan. Well, almost exactly as I said because of the London session. But I told you I was looking for a bearish setup, a sweep of this level, and then a continuation lower. So in here, even though we had a fair value gap, a nice reaction there, I'm not going to take this one because my bias for the day was bearish. And you can see that it continues lower. Yeah, and then we're getting close to lunchtime. All right, let's just go to the next trading day. Let's get closer to 929. All right. So I like the fact that we took out yesterday's high before the 930 open. This is very significant. I saw that a lot of time in my journal. All right, so that's good. So yesterday was bearish, Asian session kind of ranging, London session bullish, and we're currently in a very bullish momentum. But overall, I'll be looking for a short for that day because I'm seeing how extended we are. And I'm also seeing the low not swept yet. So we might get to it and it could be a potential reason why price could go down. So the main level I could take a trade from is this high, the high of the pre-market open. Because the yesterday's high was already taken, was already swept as I explained. And other than that, we don't have too many levels there. So this would be the main reason I would take the trade. Let's see how it goes. So I'm looking mainly for a reversal at that point. All right, so once again, we did not sweep the high. So this is frustrating. I don't know if I should take the trade. I'm always considering if this is because of the broker or it's actually the real price action because I'm seeing the breakout structure. I'm seeing the fair value gap here. Okay, let's just check on the 5 minute. Okay, I think I'll take it because I had the breakout structure. I had the fair value gap there. And I'm seeing some kind of rejection here. So I feel like we might go back up and fill up the open of the fair value gap. Let's just go like that with a 1 to 2. So contrarily to the other trade, which I missed out because I did not enter right away, in here I'm saving 10 points, which is double my stop loss. This is something to consider. Last time I tried to save 5 points, but this did not give a huge difference for my take profit. But in here, in today's case, there's a huge difference because if I was going to enter in here, my take profit would be that much lower. So at that point, but by using the open of the fair value gap right there, I'm able to go and simply get my 1 to 2 at that point, which is a huge difference. So here, I think the risk is worth it. So I'll just go with that. Let's see how it goes. Well, perfect execution. The candle stopped exactly at the high of the fair value gap and then went straight to take profit. Let's see how far it goes. It went to a 4.5. So I think even if I was going to enter here, I think I could have gotten my 1 to 2. Almost there. But yeah, nice trade here. Price went to a 1 to 4.5. But let's just leave it here. And let's just see how the rest of price action. Okay, so after that, we went higher to the lunchtime. So overall, my bias was actually wrong for that day. So the trading session was overall bullish. I was looking to take a bearish trade. But even if my bias was wrong, my setup was correct. For my setup, my bias was correct. But for the overall trading session, it was wrong. So it's not always all about the bias. It's how you use it and your specific trading session once again. We're currently running at 8% next trading day. So if you like this kind of content, please leave a like. And if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. I think only 20% of my viewers are subscribed. So 80% of people are watching my videos maybe every week, every time I upload, but only 20% of them are subscribed. So please subscribe if you watch more than one of my videos. I think this is a good reason why you should maybe subscribe. It would mean a lot for my channel. It helps grow it. Okay, so yesterday's price action bullish. We had a bearish London session, and then the pre-market open is kind of ranging. Let's just see where we are at 9:30. Yeah, so mostly I'll be looking for bearish setup. So this would be the high of the pre-market. Let's just go on the 5 minute. Yeah, so I would prefer to see a sweep of this level and then a reaction right away from there. What I don't want to see is price go back to the high of the London session and then continue lower. So my bias is bearish, but I would only want to take a trade from that level here. If we get to the yesterday's high, we will see what price action is showing us, but my overall bias for the day is bearish from that point here. Let's see. All right, so we got the nice reaction there. Nice sweep, a huge wick. Do we get the fair value gap somewhere? No. And because we filled up this fair value gap and we're currently showing more bullish momentum, I think I won't be taking a trade for that day. Yeah, because the bullish momentum is very strong now. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we failed to sweep the yesterday's high. Yeah. Not the type of trades I'm looking to trade. Let's see how big those are. No, those are so small fair value gaps. Yeah, I won't be taking a trade here. Okay, on to the next trading session. So once again, my bias was wrong for that day. I was looking for a bearish setup. But this doesn't mean that I'll be losing money on that day. Even if your bias is wrong, it doesn't mean that you lose money. Because my bias is only one part of my trading plan. We have all of those other layers, all of those other features that allows me to reduce my losses. Okay, so let's just put back the levels. So yesterday's price action, quite ranging, but overall bullish. London session bullish. And this is the Friday. And we had a big news here. I'm not sure which one it is. Anyway, it's not too important for my strategy. I just need to be aware that there was a news at 8:30. Let's just see closer. Okay, so mostly I'll be looking for a buy for that day because we saw that the London session was bullish. Yesterday's session was bullish. One thing that worries me though is that once again, the low of the London session and the low of the Asian range are not swept yet. So if I see a sweep of this low and then the entry criteria, I might hesitate to take the trade. It really depends on what the price action is showing me. The best setup that I would see happening is around those levels, around yesterday's low and around yesterday's trading session during the New York AM. But let's just see. Yeah, see? So this would be a potential trade, to be honest. We had this fair value gap. We had the inverse fair value gap that was also closed above in here. We have this fair value gap as I explained. One potential entry would be like this one. So you enter right away. Then you go with a 1 to 2. And it's perfect because it's right before the high of the pre-market open. However, there's some reason for price action to go lower and sweep those lows, including my stop loss. So for this reason, I'm not going to take this trade, but this would be a trade I would add to my journal so I can study what happened. Let's just see. Yeah, frustrating one. So this one came back to fair value gap. We had actually a double touch right there. And then we went straight to take profit. And this would be added to my journal. And if I see that there's no reason to worry about the London session and Asian session not being swept before taking my trade, then I'll just take this trade. But I need the data behind. And currently in my data, this is not the case. So I could not take this trade. Let's just see how the rest of the day goes. So it seems like my bias was perfect. I was looking for a bullish trade. And yes, so the bias was correct. My idea was also good, but what worried me actually happened. And I could not take this trade. But very nice reaction there. I hope you're learning something here. I'm personally learning actually. I'm learning a lot during those backtests. And this also gives me idea of things to look for when I'm doing my analysis. Let's just go to the next day. Because I'm looking at what happened. I'm looking at things that I need to keep in mind, and I modify my trading journal. And I also cover all of those things while I'm talking with the other members also. Okay, yesterday's price action, bullish. London session, bullish. But we're currently seeing some kind of pullback. So let's just see closer to the 930 what happens. Yeah, so we have this clear low. We have those 3 lows, some liquidity forming here. Let's just go back on the 5 minute. Well, I like the fact that now the Asian range is swept, but the London session is not swept yet. You see that we're still here. So I'm looking to take a buy for this day, preferably around that level or around yesterday's low. This is yesterday's low. But I would be kind of worried around those points here. We'll see. Let's just see the open. Okay, so we took out the low of the pre-market open, we took out the low of the London session, and we saw a huge reaction there, just like I predicted. But as I said, I'm not too sure about taking the trade here because I don't like taking trades straight from the London session. But this would look like that for a 1 to 2. So this could seem like a lot, but a lot of time you would be surprised how far price is going. So that's kind of a huge stop loss, but I will not be taking this trade. And if you feel like this stop loss is too big, you can always try to use the fair value gap. But the pullback is not always given. But I'm still curious to see this trade. This is a trade I will add to my journal. Let's see. You see, you can always get surprised by price action. So price action came back to the fair value gap. So that's nice. Someone that was using this entry could have worked well. We had a first entry here. Then we had a sweep of this entry to get another one right there. And then we eventually went higher. But even if someone was taking the trade at that point here, right when we formed this fair value gap, it still would have went to take profit, even though the take profit and stop loss looked huge at the time. And this is because your trading view charts are based on the previous price action, which is that, right? But those movements are pre-market movements. You cannot use those to define if this is a big stop loss or not. The volatility usually comes right after. And you can see that 30 points for a stop loss is not that much. You can see how much we're moving during the trading session. The lowest point was that point here, and we moved 115 points. And for my take profit, I had only needed 60 points out of those 115. So you see that you don't need to be scared about something that looks like a big stop loss or something that looks like a big take profit. And we had many potential targets and many reasons why price could move towards that level. But very nice price action here. Once again, my bias was great. My bias was correct. My idea was also good, but I didn't like taking a trade from the London session. But as I'm adding data to my trading journal, maybe I'll find out that taking a trade from the London session is actually correct and there's no issue with that. And I might start trading the level. But for now, this is not part of my trading plan. So price went to a 1 to 2.7 and then finally went to stop loss at that point. So I just saw that this is Monday. Let's just see where we are in the calendar and the analytics. Okay, so I actually just finished the first 2 weeks of February. So I think I'll just stop here. So we had one first trade at the beginning of February, which was a winning trade. And then a second trade at the second week, winning trade also. And we have 3 weeks left. But I think the video is getting kind of long. And this is the current equity curve that we have. So very, very great. 8% profit. We're currently at a 60% win rate. Very comfortable. And I took 10 trades. Things are looking great for now. And in the next video, I'll be backtesting the rest of February. And if you didn't already saw the 2 previous backtesting sessions, you should definitely. I'm dropping a lot of knowledge about the strategy and different things that you can implement to make your trading better. See you in the next one.